Okay, so a few days ago, Paul Pelosi, who is of course the husband of Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, third in line to be President of the United States, as a reminder of what that position entails, among many other things, he was attacked in his own home, in their shared home in California, by a man named David DePape. I'm just going to quickly recap the facts leading up to this crime before we talk about the media spin. So he is a mentally ill man. He has a long-standing history of severe and untreated mental illness. He is a drug-addicted man, has a history of using illicit drugs. He happens to be an illegal immigrant from the country of Canada, and he has been involved historically in a lot of politically and ideologically driven websites, blogs, things of that nature, sometimes on the left, most recently on the right, far right-winged kind of blogs that some in the media will say are promoting conspiracy theories. Others might have different opinions about what the specific content of those sites and blogs are, but in any case, he clearly had some sort of outrage at politicians, in particular Nancy Pelosi, and he broke into their home. So what is the moral of this story? Is it that we have to do something about the mental health care crisis? Is it that illustrates the importance of the drugs and addiction problem? Is it that maybe we need to revisit some illegal immigration policies? Is it that maybe we should ramp up security in the personal home of the third in line to be President of the United States? Is it maybe we should all tone down all of the polarized and hateful rhetoric because we're seeing similar crimes happen to ordinary people that are politically and ideologically driven all over this country on both sides? No, if you look at cable news, the moral of the story is essentially this. This is why we need censorship, because dangerous misinformation motivated this crime. It's highly reductive and it's highly manipulative and motivated for a specific end, which I will get to. But the moral of this story is this is a politically motivated crime because of his consumption of angry right-winged political rhetoric. That is solely what led to this crime. And that is why misinformation is dangerous. So how did this attack by a mentally ill, drug-addicted, illegal immigrant become a story painted sweepingly in the cable news, almost in unison about a politically motivated attack? I'm not sure, but let's talk about just some other opinions that I hold. I believe that you're allowed to be angry. I believe you're allowed to even be outraged. I believe that corrupt politicians should spark outrage. I personally find it appalling that our Congress people who have no term limits are allowed to personally enrich themselves off of insider trading and by regulating companies that they are also profiting from. I think it's insane that people like Nancy Pelosi are worth over $100 million because of their positions and their access to this information and their ability to regulate these industries and therefore gain from them. Their ability to be lobbied successfully by these industries that they're regulating. I think it's appalling. She's on a $100,000 a year salary. And so I believe that some outrage when it comes to corrupt practices in politics is probably warranted. I don't think that that's the bad thing here. A few things though that you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to do illegal drugs. You're not allowed to break into other people's homes. You're not allowed to commit violent crimes. Those are things that are appalling and you're not supposed to do. So they're reframing an insanity and addiction and mental health problem as a right-wing disinformation problem. They are painting a criminal problem as if it's an ideological problem. So the anger and outrage, in my opinion, isn't the problem here. We all get angry and outraged at people in our lives all the time, not just politicians. Most of us just don't attack them violently. Most of us don't go into high-profile politicians' homes and attack their families. Anger is just a basic, healthy human emotion. The problem is that when you mix certain natural human emotions and tendencies with long-standing mental illness, drugs, and addiction, you sometimes get people who become willing to commit crimes like this. So ideology on both sides has fueled similar attacks of ordinary people all over this country. So I'm not arguing that ideology and beliefs and anger and outrage didn't fuel this crime. I'm not even arguing that it was his motive. And if you dig into local news sites, like really dig, because they don't get coverage across the cable news necessarily, but you're sure to find plenty of examples of ideologically driven crimes. The problem, though, isn't the ideology itself, in my opinion, because any ideology can spark outrage at the other side. And I think it becomes a deadly combination when mixed with severe and untreated mental illness and drug addiction. I think this should be clear, but the attempt to reduce this attack to merely an ideologically driven motive is a blatant manipulation of the progressive left to, number one, urge you to vote Democrat in your midterm elections by dangling this, see, this is what will happen if you don't vote for us in front of your face. See, you got to vote Democrat because as long as we're in power, we'll do something about like people, if you don't vote for us, people like on the right are just going to wield hammers and run to your houses and just beat you to death. Like it's anarchy over there. They're going to take over. And number two, they're manipulating you to continue to justify the censorship industry, which is funded by and organized by the West security state, fact. Big tech companies fund it, fact. Big tech companies who, by the way, have incentive to work at the behest of the government since they are, after all, subject to their regulations. And they're also funded and organized by left-wing billionaires, fact. Don't be fooled.